This picture hides the most disturbing secret. The boy you see holding a pen is Steven Stayner. On December 4th, 1972, 7-year-old Steven was abducted in the small town of Merced. The town immediately launches a massive search, a desperate attempt to find the missing boy. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and soon years pass, but still nothing is found. Fast forward to February 1980, 7 years later. 5-year-old Timothy White goes missing in Merced under similar circumstances like Steven. The town starts another massive search, but still no signs of Timmy at all. 2 weeks later, little Timmy shows up at the local police station alongside some unknown boy. The boy appears to be none other than Steven Stayner himself, found after 7 long years. 2 boys, each a victim of a cruel fate, stand side by side. It turns out, Steven decided to save himself and little Timmy from a fate mirroring his own, thus becoming the town's hero. So, where was Steven Stayner all these years? And more importantly, who stands behind this disturbing story? It was December 4th, and Steven Stayner was getting ready to walk back home from school. He typically strolled the half-mile back home with his buddies. However, due to the chilly rain, Kay opted to fetch him after her errands. Pulling up at the school by 2:10, she anticipated Steven might be waiting, yet there was no sign of him. Keeping a vigilant eye during the drive home, she scoured the streets, but Steven remained missing. By the time she reached home at 2:20, he was nowhere to be found. If only she knew where Steven was all this time. At 3 o'clock, Kay and Dell made their way back to Charles Wright Elementary, ready to fetch Cindy and Jody after school. However, there was a noticeable absence. Both Cindy and Jody shared with their parents that Steven, their brother, had been missing since lunch. It wasn't an instant alarm, because Steven had already once sneaked out to his friend's house after school. Upon returning home, Kay dialed up a bunch of Steven's friends, eager to track him down. Sharon told her that she and Steven had walked together until splitting up at their regular spot on Union Avenue, right before Yosemite Parkway. Typically, Steven would continue the journey with his buddy Hector, but this time, Hector's mom had picked him up from school due to the rain. The Stayners combed through the town, stopping by anyone they knew of Steven's friends they crossed paths with. By 5 p.m., with still no trace of him, they dialed the Merced police station to alert them about his disappearance. Soon after, an officer appeared at their doorstep, gathering details on Steven's disappearance. They described him as a 4 foot 8 inches boy, weighing 60 pounds, with shaggy light brown hair and brown eyes. His last known outfit consisted of blue jeans, a light tan coat, and cowboy-style boots. The cop didn't seem too bothered. In Merced, lost kids were usually found goofing around a friend's place or in some backyard, and serious trouble was rare. Plus, nothing seemed off at the Stayner home. Cops scoured the hood, mapping out every possible route Steven might have used from school. All eyes were on Yosemite Parkway, or as they call it now, Steven's regular route back. If only they knew all this time Steven was abducted by a stranger. A worker at the gas station remembered spotting Steven strolling eastward toward his house a bit before 3 p.m. They hadn't seen anything odd around after. By 6 p.m., reserve police officers and local Boy Scouts had huddled up to search in the chilly rain. The news of Steven missing echoed on the local radio. Leaving their other kids with trusted friends, Dell and Kay dashed to a nearby junkyard, sifting through the shadows in a relentless hunt for their son. Tension was starting to build in the air. Shortly past midnight, Dell received a summons to the police station. Considering that many cases of missing children implicate parents, the police captain outright inquired if Adele was involved in Steven's disappearance. Infuriated by the accusation, Dell offered to undergo a polygraph test to affirm his innocence. However, there was no equipment available to do the tests yet. The next day, police continued the search relentlessly alongside the members of the Mormon Church. Later that day, the lie detector gear rolled into Merced, and Kay and Adele faced off the polygraph test. The outcomes suggested the couple was clear of financial troubles and uninvolved in Steven's vanishing act. Despite days of relentless searching yielding no answers, the community rallied on Friday, December 8th, for an extensive search. The authorities hinted that this might be the final large-scale sweep unless any breakthrough evidence emerged. More than 100 off-duty cops and firefighters, along with county jail inmates and regular folks who ditched work for the day, rallied together to scour the Merced County region in a relentless hunt for any trace of Steven. They combed through fields, inspected drain pipes, and probed potential hiding spots, tirelessly door-knocking across a 1-square-mile radius from where Steven vanished. Dell scoured tirelessly, exploring vacant structures, derelict homes, and refuse sites around the clock. hoping to uncover any clue pointing to his son's whereabouts. Yet, every search yielded nothing noteworthy. In response, the Merced police, acknowledging the grim turn of events, broadcasted a statewide alert, acknowledging the chilling prospect that Steven might have fallen victim to foul play or a kidnapping. They compiled a roster of all identified sex offenders in Merced and nearby counties, but none could be tied to Steven's vanishing. The U.S. Forest Service rangers scoured the park's campgrounds and meadows in a relentless search for Steven, but found nothing. Police sought a list of all park employees, even those in lodges and hotels. Although the list was given, a park ranger resisted, claiming Steven's disappearance wasn't the park's concern. He opposed putting up missing child posters, fearing it might drive away tourists. Fast forward to Monday, December 11th, and an entire week slipped by with no trace of Steven. The search, with heavy hearts, was declared over. The Stayner family grappled with devastation, trying to make sense of Steven's vanishing act. In the public eye, Del Stayner revealed to reporters that Kay, his wife, seemed to be holding up better than he was. She put on a brave face for their other kids, assuring them that Steven would find his way home. However, Del confided, "Yet, when the night settles and the prayers are said, her tears echo in the silence." 3 weeks drifted away, and the Christmas season unfolded with no trace of Steven. Kay and Del made every effort to salvage Christmas Day, attempting to inject joy into the holidays. In the chilly days of late December, the Sacramento Bee, a local paper, put up a $1,000 reward, hoping it would spark the lead we needed to find Steven safe and sound. As December 28th rolled in, the police shared that they diligently pursued various leads, but none unveiled any answers. Their revelation to the media affirmed the unsettling reality that, so far, there was no sign pointing to a kidnapping in Steven's mysterious disappearance. May 15th, 1973, saw Del and Kay offering a $5,000 reward. It was up for grabs, whether for Steven's safe return or the capture and conviction of those behind his vanishing act. Approaching the 1-year mark since Steven vanished, Kay confided to the Fresno Bee, "We're sure the day will come when we'll be a family again." 2 years after Steven vanished, Kay confided to the Indiana Gazette that her conviction about Steven's survival had only intensified. With unwavering confidence, she declared, "He's out there alive." Del firmly believed that somewhere in Merced, someone held the key to the truth about his son. During a family drive, he noticed a suspicious figure standing beside a heap of dirt. Stopping the car, Del locked eyes with the mysterious stranger until he left. Convinced Steven's secret lay beneath the mound, Del urged the police to dig it up. Despite his plea, the lack of evidence meant no progress in the investigation. The truth remained elusive. In 1980, 8 years had slipped away since Steven disappeared. Fast forward to Thursday, February 14th, 1980, at 11:30 a.m., young Timothy White, just 5 years old, wrapped up his day in kindergarten at UKO Elementary School in Ukiah, a distant 237 miles north of Merced. Timmy would later be crucial for the findings of Steven Stayner and his abductor. Little Timmy, a pint-sized lad at 3 feet 6 inches, sported platinum blonde hair, freckles, and a mischievous grin, accentuated by a faint scar on his chin. Today, he rocked brown pants, a checkered shirt, a blue jacket, and snazzy brown cowboy boots. As always, he was entrusted with the routine 3-block stroll from school to his babysitter's haven, a trek he'd mastered countless times. By 11:30 a.m., Diane, Timmy's babysitter, and a group of other kids she cared for gathered on the porch, eager for Timmy's appearance. However, as time ticked away, there was still no sight of him. Diane's anxiety increased, and by 12:30, she reached out to Timmy's mother, Angela White, expressing her concern about Timmy's absence. Angela swiftly contacted the police, triggering the dispatch of 2 officers to scour the region spanning UKO Elementary to Diane's residence. Much like the Steven Stayner incident, initial police reactions weren't overly alarmed, assuming Timmy might have wandered off or was engrossed in play with a friend. However, as 3 p.m. approached with no sign of Timmy, police grew apprehensive that he might be lost or worse. Intensifying their efforts, they mobilized reserve officers and police cadets, launching a town-wide search to retrace Timmy's last known steps. 2 days later, tracking dogs embarked on a mission between Diane's residence and the elementary school. Despite their keen senses, heavy rainfall over the past few days played the villain, rendering the canines powerless in detecting any trace. The relentless downpour also thwarted police endeavors to scour the landscape from the air with helicopters. Similar to Steven's situation, there wasn't any evidence hinting at what occurred to Timmy. 2 weeks went by without any progress, but then on Saturday, March 1st, 1980, a crucial moment unfolded just after 11 p.m. Officer Bob Warner, stationed at the Ukiah police station, witnessed a small, teary-eyed boy gazing through the glass door, only to briskly retreat into the shadows. Realizing the lateness of the hour for a young boy to be roaming the streets, Officer Warner trailed the child outside. Observing him sprinting towards an older boy, Warner, wary of spooking them, opted to summon backup rather than approach directly. In no time, Officer Russell Van Voros appeared in a patrol car, halting beside the duo and inquiring about their identities. To Officer Van Voros's astonishment, the younger one, named Timmy, left him so incredulous that he needed the boy to reaffirm his name for confirmation. Then, the older kid spoke up. "I know my name is Steven, a missing kid from Merced for 7 years. Angela White received a call about a boy at the station claiming to be her son. Racing there, she found a dirty boy with dark brown hair, nothing like Timmy's blonde locks. Angela passed out, and when she came to, she realized it was Timmy. His hair had been dyed, and he looked like he hadn't bathed in weeks. The shocking twist left her reeling. In a quiet embrace that lasted 20 minutes, Timmy and his mother found solace. Steven, when questioned by the police, dropped a bombshell. He revealed that Timmy had been kidnapped by the same person who had held him captive for over 7 years. Steven insisted he wanted to spare Timmy from the same fate he endured, and had been planning the rescue for a week and a half, delayed only by the stormy weather. Initially, Steven withheld details about their kidnapper, whom he bizarrely referred to as his dad. However, under pressure, he cracked and disclosed the person responsible, Kenneth Parnell, an employee at the Palace Hotel in Ukiah, merely half a mile from the police station. Steven vehemently denied any sexual abuse by Parnell towards him or Timmy. A call from an officer in Ukiah to the Merced police station set the wheels in motion. They needed to confirm if a missing child named Steven Stayner was in their records. Meanwhile, another officer reached out to the Stayner household, breaking the late-night silence with the promise of news about their son. Around 3 a.m., the officer arrived, carrying a revelation that would alter the course of their night. Steven, their missing son, had been found alive. The Stayners, caught between disbelief and elation, were delivered this news that defied the odds. Dell, overwhelmed, found solace in a seat, tears streaming down. Ukiah police asked Steven to pen a quick note about life with Parnell. He wrote, "I'm Steven Stayner, 14 years old. My real birthday is a mystery, so I go with April 18th, 1965. Steven's my first name, Stayner might be my last, and any middle name, I've got no clue." In later discussions with law enforcement and media, it came to light that on the fateful afternoon of December 4th, 1972, Steven encountered 2 individuals. One of them, a 41-year-old named Kenneth Parnell, along with his companion, approached Steven under the guise of distributing religious pamphlets. They inquired whether Steven's mother might be interested in contributing to their church and kindly offered him a ride home to discuss it with her. Steven nodded in agreement and hopped into their car. However, instead of turning into his street, the men drove past it, assuring him they were just heading to their place for a brief stop before calling his mom. Steven found them amiable, so he trusted their words. Relaxed, he settled back, savoring the ride and exploring the new surroundings as they ventured beyond town. During the journey, Parnell halted the car to make a call from a payphone. When he returned, he claimed to have spoken with Steven's parents, who supposedly approved of him staying over for the night. Steven was filled with joy when he discovered a bunch of toys awaiting him at Parnell's place. Amid playing, Parnell casually inquired about Steven's family, interests, and dislikes. Parnell, employed at Yosemite Valley Lodge, swiftly relocated them the next day to the dorms, where he had a snug private room. However, when Steven was left alone, Parnell's true intentions unfolded. He surreptitiously drugged Steven with sleeping pills, turning days into a hazy blur. Deprived of basic amenities, Steven resorted to a bucket for his needs. A week later, it was Sunday, December 10th, when Parnell drove Steven back to the cabin at Cathy's Valley. By mid-December, he surprised Steven with a 6-week-old Manchester Terrier puppy named Queenie, instantly winning the boy's affection. But as the warmth of the puppy's presence enveloped Steven, Parnell dropped a bombshell. His parents could no longer afford to keep him, and a judge had granted Parnell permanent custody. Tears streamed down Steven's face. He pleaded, insisting his family needed him at home. Coldly, Parnell said, "Well, I don't think they really need you right now." That very night, Parnell transformed Steven's appearance, darkening and restyling his hair, making him unrecognizable. On the fateful day of December 17th, 1972, Parnell abruptly resigned from his job, swapping his car for a beat-up Rambler American. With a 200-mile journey, he spirited Steven and Queenie away to Santa Rosa, California, embarking on a series of weeks spent in different motels. On January 2nd, 1973, Parnell, assuming the role of Steven's divorced father, enrolled him at Still Lane Elementary School under the alias Dennis Parnell. As time passed, Parnell eased up a bit, occasionally treating Steven to the local Denny's restaurant. However, despite the crowds, no one ever noticed Steven. As years went by and Steven got older, Parnell got bored of Steven and started looking for a new victim. On February 14, 1980, 8 years after Steven's abduction, Steven's world crumbled as Parnell appeared at his school to collect him, accompanied by 5-year-old Timmy White. Back at the cabin, Steven took on the responsibility of caring for the young boy, engaging him in games and joining him to feed the farm animals. As Timmy expressed a desire to return home, Steven made a solemn promise to make it happen. This was the start of Steven's heroic rescue and escape from Parnell. On the initial try, rain poured down relentlessly as he attempted to carry Timmy away from the cabin. However, Timmy, in distress, insisted on returning. On Saturday evening, March 1st, Parnell departed for his night shift at the Palace Hotel. Steven, taking charge, prepared dinner for both of them and discreetly tucked a bowie knife into his right boot. Bidding farewell to his cherished dog Queenie, he promised to return. Around 7 p.m., they departed from the cabin. Despite the sparse traffic, they caught a ride with a Mexican driver who spoke minimal English. Throughout the journey, he clutched Timmy anxiously on his lap, fearing Parnell's pursuit. At around 9 p.m., they found themselves abandoned on the outskirts of Ukiah. Steven's original plan involved taking Timmy to his babysitter's place, yet upon arrival, an empty house greeted them. Timmy, grappling with confusion, attempted to recall the directions to his family home. Steven, sensing the urgency, used a nearby payphone to uncover the address of the local police station. The journey unfolded as they strolled past the Palace Hotel, where, unbeknownst to them, Parnell was employed. Drawing closer to the police station, Steven urged Timmy to cover the final 3/4 of a block on his own. However, fear gripped Timmy at the doorstep, prompting a retreat back to Steven. It was at this critical moment that the police neared them, compelling Steven to make a vital decision: to confess the truth about his identity. Police then immediately rushed to the Palace Hotel and arrested Parnell, charging him with the abduction of Timmy White and Steven Stayner. They escorted him to an interrogation room at the Ukiah Police Department, allowing Steven to identify him from behind the safety of a glass window. Silently, Steven affirmed that Parnell was the one who had captured him. Suddenly, the officer swung the door open to the interrogation room, forcefully shoving Steven inside, forcing him to confront Parnell. Inquiring if Steven was certain about Parnell being the assailant, the officer's question triggered Steven to erupt in screams, demanding to be removed from the room. By 7 in the evening, Steven joyously reunited with his family in Merced. Anticipating a little child, his parents were surprised to meet an independent teenager, a young man in the making. A grand welcome home bash awaited Steven, hosted by the Stayners and attended by 230 friends and relatives. Meanwhile, outside, camera crews and news reporters buzzed with curiosity. Upon reuniting with his family, Stayner grappled with the challenge of adapting to a more regulated household. Living with Parnell had granted him the freedom to smoke, drink, and live unrestrained. In a Newsweek interview post-escape, Stayner reflected, "I came back almost a grown man, yet my parents initially perceived me as their 7-year-old. Once they stopped attempting to reteach me the basics, things improved. But why doesn't my dad hug me anymore? Everything's different. At times I blame myself. I wonder if returning home was the right choice. Would I have been better off if I hadn't?" Following the trial, Kenneth Parnell received an 8-year, 8-month prison sentence for one kidnapping charge and an additional 1 year and 8 months for the other. In February 1982, he entered prison, only to be released on parole in April 1985. Following this case, the laws concerning kidnapping convictions underwent a transformation, mandating that culprits serve consecutive sentences for each offense. Steven managed to continue his life and eventually married Jody Edmondson. However, on the fateful evening of September 16, 1989, Steven met a tragic end, suffering lethal head injuries during his ride back home from work. His motorcycle collided with a car in a hit-and-run, and later on, witnesses pinpointed the alleged driver. Although gone too soon from this world, Steven Stayner remains a hero who saved his and a life of a little Timmy White. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel. Thank you for watching.